Russell DeCarle is a founding member, lead vocalist, bassist, and contributing songwriter to the multi-platinum Juno Award-winning country roots group Prairie Oyster. Russell will be in Canmore this Sunday performing at Arts Place. Joining CJWE this morning is Mr. Russell DeCarle. Let's go back to even before Prairie Oyster, Russell. Tell us about growing up. Was music something you really wanted to do?
I don't know that I really knew that that's what I wanted to do. It wasn't like I had this burning desire to be a musician. It was never really a conscious thought in the early days when I was a kid. I always loved to sing and I loved music. And I kind of fell into it pretty young, as a young teenager. I grew up in a little town called King City, north of Toronto, in Ontario. It was a rural town at the time. It's kind of a suburb now, but it was a rural upbringing. It was pretty great. We were close enough to the city, so we weren't completely from the sticks, but it was a great place to be a kid. Anyway, I grew up with a fellow by the name of Keith Glass, who, of course, is my boyhood chum and musical compadre from Prairie Oyster. And he was much more driven to play music than I was in those days. And he was the one who really kind of got me into playing bass. Basically, he had to put a little band together, and they needed a bass player. I said, "Man, you should play with us." So he kind of inspired me. And then that was when I was quite young. And then later on, he and I had started a band called the King City Slickers, and it was kind of a bluegrass country band. And that was the early '70s. And then we went on the road, and I've been on the road ever since. This is my 47th year on the road this year.
You know, in the 80s, Russell, you founded a little Canadian group, of course, known as Prairie Oyster. I've always wondered the origin behind that name. Where did it come from?
You know, our original drummer, Alistair Dennett, who is still a good pal of mine, we had the band together. We had some gigs and coming up, and we didn't have a band name, and we had a bit of a repertoire we were working on. And she actually suggested the name, and she knew the term from her son-in-law was from North Dakota, and he was the one who came up or told her about Prairie Oysters and that term, and so that's where that came from. It came from her, not thinking that you're going to be explaining it, decades later.
You know, the band won many awards over the years, CCMAs, the Junos. I'm sure a highlight, though, for you, Russell, is when the band was inducted into the Canadian Country Music Hall of Fame in 2008.
That was pretty amazing. It was one of them for sure. You know, they were all pretty amazing to me. I mean, winning our first Juno Award was pretty spectacular, and certainly all the country awards, and it was all pretty amazing. I mean, I never really thought of music as a contest, so I mean, it's, the award thing is, well, it means a lot to me. I mean, I guess it beats the alternative, as my friend would say. But it's for me, it was always really kind of looking ahead and just trying to get better and play music and get to perform for people. But no, it has been the receiving all that stuff has been pretty amazing, and it is. I guess quite incredible. Although I felt like I was a bit too young to be inducted into the Country Music Hall of Fame, because I felt like I was really kind of just getting started.
You know, in 2010, you decided to go solo, forming the Russell DeCarle Trio. Tell us about that decision to go solo, Russell.
No, I just kind of fell into it. It's just, my life's been kind of a lot of happy accidents for me, really, in a lot of ways. I mean, I started playing, I did do some solo stuff in there before that album was released. It was released, Under the Big Big Sky was released in 2010. But 2004, one of the things that really changed my life and was really inspiring for me, I got to do a tour with Merle Haggard in 2004. And I did that as a duo myself and my musical compadre, Steve Briggs, who's playing with me he's been playing with me ever since. I hired him for that gig. And, it was at a time when I was a bit disillusioned with where country music was going, and going out with Merle, we did 14 shows with him, and he was a guy who never used a set list, and he still sang better than anyone out there, and was writing as good a songs as he'd ever written. And No Smoke and Mirrors just went out and sang and slayed people every night. It was just incredible. And a great band.
You know, you're in Canmore this Sunday performing at the Arts Place. You still got that soulful voice that fans are used to. You've played in our province many times throughout your career. Has Alberta been a second home to you?
It truly is. I mean, I have such great friends and fans here. It's amazing. And we were selling a ton of records back in the days when bands actually sold a lot of records. We were selling 2/3 of our albums. We were selling in Alberta and Saskatchewan. And so, I mean, it's amazing. I mean, I spent a lot of time here. It's just been a huge part of my career, and I have great friends here. I love Alberta, so it truly is a second home, yeah.
You're on tour right now, Russell, but what's coming up for you over the next couple months?
Well, when I get home next week, I'm out here just for 4 shows, and when I get back to Ontario, I'm home for a couple of days. Then I go to Montreal, where the Folk Alliance International. It's a big deal where it's kind of a roots and folk music gathering. It happens once a year, and people from all over the world show up to it. It's been in Kansas for the last 3 years, and before that, it was in Memphis for quite a while. And it just happens to be in Montreal this year, so I'm doing a bunch of showcasing there for some people. I'll be doing that, and I'm doing some Ontario dates. After that, and this spring, and then hopefully get back out here for some shows. And I'm doing a show I know in Olds, Alberta, in May, and which I don't really have the details about at this point. And I'll do some other shows around that, and then hopefully get back here for some festivals.